So why do we think we can win in this context? And I mean, one of our recent successes that people may know about is we got this public school choice motion where the school board made a new rule that said new schools and existing schools that are quote-unquote failing under certain criteria related to, but not directly related to No Child Left Behind, can be put up for bid. And so we wound up with approximately 36 schools, depending on how you count them up, put up for bid. And long story short, I'm not going to have time to go into it. I'd love to talk to people more about it. We decided to duke it out. I mean, some people, initially, it seemed like the right thing to do to say, hell no, we're not going to participate in this kangaroo reform process. But we figured out that we really had to, even those of us who were pretty radical and didn't want to play the game, figured out we got to vie for these schools. We got to fight back. The charters are going to put in plans, and we have to say, all right, if you threw down the gauntlet, what does real school reform look like? What do we really mean by what school, like what should our school really look like? And what role could teachers play in making schools look different, even before we solved the budget crisis? And by the way, there was an argument that was being put out. You guys have had a chance to reform the schools, and you've had that chance for years. You, your parent and community partners, the school district, and you've failed. So we've got to give the schools over to private entities. And we had to come back and say, baloney. We even used other words than baloney. and no, we haven't been given anything like that opportunity. So if you're going to throw down that kind of gauntlet, we're going to take that opportunity now and tell you what we really need to do to reform schools. And we put in a bunch of bottom-up, authentic plans that we put together with parent and community partners. We went door to door in neighborhoods. We did all kinds of grassroots organizing. We began to develop, something I want to end on, actual relationships with parents and community. We often talk about parents and community like we're just going to zip in, maybe get people to vote for something, come to a forum. We need like relationships where we're in half-hour phone conversations every week or so with people that we're developing networks. I mean, we're talking about real political conversations and getting to know people and working with people. We started to do that. Anyway, long story short, we won back 32 of the 36 schools, even in the face of this attack. But we even had a debate about whether to call that a victory. Yeah. Right, you know, and I think people in this room get a sense that I thought it was a victory in a skirmish in a war we're losing, right? And because now they're coming back and they're going to do this to a whole bunch more schools. And so, you know, we're running and we're scrambling. At the same time, I think we're beginning as United Teachers Los Angeles, and we've written a policy. Those of us on the left in the union are the authors of the policy on charter schools that is very clear about fighting the charter school movement. We've got some good charters, we've got some UTLA charters, but that's not really the argument. The argument is charters are part of this privatization movement that we're talking about. You always get into debates, hey, there's this good charter, there's that good charter, there's this mom and pop startup. Fair enough. That's not the argument. The argument is this is part of a massive onslaught, and we've got to turn that. Maybe it means organizing people at charter schools. These rank and filers who are increasingly disaffected with their boss. But that means driving a distinction between the boss and the worker and being able to critique charter schools while at the same time attracting some predominantly young teachers who got involved in the charter school in the first place, partially some of them because they bought into the ideology. And so it gets very tricky. And let me just wrap up on this. I mean, in this context, I think one of the most important things that we need is a political perspective. And partially that's an analysis of the consciousness of the people around us. Are the many, I mean, look at the vote in New York City, talking about Randy Weingarten. I forget the guy's name who's her puppet in New York. So he wins with an 80% landslide. But what percentage of the membership voted? 26, I think it was. 24. So what about all those people that didn't vote? Are they just apathetic? Or are they angry? Or are they disgusted, but not sure what voting for somebody in a union election is going to do to turn things around? I mean, this is the way we have to think about the people around us. And so I think a lot of our work is one-on-one. It's political education. It's getting our unions to take political education and the research and political development that really backs that up, that we sponsor real trainings of rank and file activists that aren't just about how to conduct an election, or it's not that kind of very Mickey Mouse steward stuff. All critical, but it's also about getting people involved in political discussions about what is causing this crisis that we're in. Where does it come from? Who's really behind it in terms of the individual groups and Sam Walton and whoever, but what forces are really behind it, and what does it take to get together to actually turn that around? And I've promised to end a couple of times, but just to finally end on this, what we're figuring out in UTLA is that we need something like a strategic plan. It sounds obvious. Strategy, sure. Plan, sure. Be proactive, absolutely. But when I go back over our United Action literature, the platforms that we ran on, we wanted to be more militant. We were going to use the S word. We were the people who would be willing to go on strike. Absolutely. We said that very clearly. We were going to fight this stuff instead of not fight it. We said a lot of things, but what we didn't say is we're going to be very candid in a very difficult moment about what exactly do we need to do in the coming years. What do we need to lead with?